Welcome back to the 2-Minute Warning. Jay and I back together for our first video in a long time. Today we're talking Jacksonville Jaguars. Unfortunately, rookie running back Travis Etienne has suffered an injury. I'm sure most of you guys heard about it, but that's what we're going to be talking about today. Before we get into the video, question of the day, and that is just a Jags question. What do you guys predict their record to be? I think that they have more hope than the average person gives them, but at the end of the video, you'll hear Jay and I's answer, so comment yours below about what you think the Jags are going to do this season. But Jay, what do you think this means for the Jags and Etienne's future?
The first thing I think of, kind of outside of the real world of football, is if you're in a fantasy league or you're going to be making a fantasy draft, target James Robinson and get rid of Etienne as fast as you can if that was not obvious. But looking at the Jaguars as a whole, I truly don't think they were going to have high expectations this year either way. Of course, you don't want to see, your second highest draft pick go down right away. And it was already going to be a weird situation with James Robinson, with Carlos Hyde, with Etienne. Kind of a crowded backfield, and it works in the NFL. Nick Chubb, Kareem Hunt. The Colts have a crowded backfield. Nyheim Hines, Jonathan Taylor, Marlon Mack. But still, if James Robinson takes off this year, then it makes the situation even more complicated. I wanted them to get through their growing pains in their rookie year. Not so much as where there's this successful trio or duo, whoever comes out there, but I just want the roles to be established in that backfield. And now with him being delayed and James Robinson, whether he takes a step forward or a step back, it's just really going to mess with the roles, in my opinion. In year two, there could be some growing pains again. Either way, I don't think this will actually affect their huge win-loss record because I believe in James Robinson. I think he was going to be the starting back, and I think it was going to be a 60-40 split, and we could have sent Etienne more of a receiver. I like their offense. I like Trevor Lawrence. I like Urban Meyer, but still, as of right now, there's too many question marks to really bank this on whether or not Etienne's going to affect their overall record impact.
Yeah, the main takeaway from what you just said is I really don't think this is going to make the Jags their wins losses fluctuate really at all. I like I said, I give the Jags hope a little more than the average person, so I think they were good for maybe a little under 500, but that's besides the point. I think regardless of the fact that Etienne wasn't going to make this a playoff team, I still think that now we're going to miss out on something that could have been really special. Etienne and Lawrence had a really good connection there at Clemson, and yes, he's a running back, but they used him a lot in the slot out of the backfield. Just as a receiver, he's a versatile guy, so I think that they're going to miss out. Even if it doesn't make them a playoff team, I think they were going to miss out on a great connection between Lawrence and Etienne this year. And I think Etienne would have fit in with the young offense. I mean, from the quarterback, obviously rookie and Trevor Lawrence, new head coach, a lot of young guys at receiver. I like Chenault a lot, DJ Chark, and James Robinson only going to be going into his second year and was at the top, near the top of the leaderboard in rushing yards last year. James Robinson obviously going to be the number one guy this year, and I think that's, if I'm a Jags fan, I'm not disappointed about that at all. But you don't get to look forward to having another guy that was a highly sought-after draft pick being able to share carries with James Robinson.
Yeah, and personally, come draft day, I really wasn't excited to see the Jaguars draft Etienne. I loved the chemistry factor of him being with Lawrence, and I like that they did that for him if it was for him. But I just don't think it was a necessity because they had Robinson. I mean, he shined last year, and I just didn't think it was an absolute necessity again. Power backfields can really work in the NFL now. Like I said, the Colts, like I said, the Browns, it can work, but it's just not a huge necessity for this team. It's more of a want, and I just think there are other options out there, whether it be Rashad Bateman, a wide receiver, to make this a stacked receiving core. You can never have enough talent in the receiving room, and like I said, in the backfield. It's just such a fine line. I think there were better options in the first round. Receiver, cornerback, pass rush, offensive line. This kind of just shows to me more that it wasn't a great pick. Again, I'm not banking on, I told you so, I was right because he got hurt. No one predicted that. He could have shined and been a great receiving back, and it could have been a great duo. But still, either way, it's just really biting them in the ass right now that they took him, in my opinion.
Yeah, coulda, shoulda, woulda about the draft. There's obviously could have been better options, but I personally was a fan of the fact that they played together. But you brought up an interesting point, and we just looked at a little bit before this, was the fact that now the Jalen Ramsey trade, 4 years ago, is really turning out to be, I don't want to say a bust, but turning out poorly for the Jags. I mean, you go ahead. What do you know about that?
I mean, they took an edge rusher just last year in the first round. They took Etienne this year in the first round. They took Jordan Smith in the fourth round this year. Those three players are turning out to be much less of a value than Jalen Ramsey. I mean, Jalen Ramsey is now the highest paid corner. Yeah. He's seen as the number one corner in the league. It just shows in trades, a 2 first-round swap might sound like a lot, but a lot of times it does pay off, And looking at the Rams again, they just made a Matt Stafford trade, and you think it's going to work out again because the quarterback's much more value than Ramsey. And I think the Rams might be finding, I don't want to say the equation to make it work, but just finding out that, draft picks aren't absolutely everything. And again, shoulda, coulda, woulda. No one would have known this. Etienne could have been rookie of the year for all we know and stole it from his own quarterback, Trevor Lawrence. But still, it just goes to show, don't overthink this first-round draft pick as being this huge capital source that's just worth saving onto for your life.
Yeah, it's funny. Whenever I see a team trade somebody for future picks, I automatically assume that that's an absolute win.
I know.
But it's still a big gamble on taking on these young guys. And talking for the future of Etienne, I'm no doctor, but foot injury is going to keep him out for a minimum of 12 weeks, what I've heard. I can't really imagine what it's like trying to start your career with an injury like that. Guys come back from ACLs, so it is doable. Joe Burrow's going through something similar. But I think this is tough for Etienne. Just because how are you going to recover for this? You don't even have a season under your belt yet. But I think the main point, again, we touched on this earlier, is that the Jags aren't going to become a much worse team because of this. It just sucks for Jags fans that put a lot into Etienne.
Yeah, and if he were to have a good impact or a huge impact, it's almost like it's good that he's out because it wouldn't have been a huge impact to where they make the playoffs, make a Super Bowl. And now it's just going to help your draft pick. And the Jaguars are going to make a big run this year. Maybe they can get a top 10, top 5 draft pick this year. Figure out their growing pains. Maybe not in the backfield because the Etienne thing is going to be a wild card in the following year. But Lawrence is going to have some reps. Urban Meyer's going to have some reps. They're going to be able to get an extra tackle in the draft with a good pick. The receiving core is going to be clicking. Maybe they'll give Tim Tebow another shot. Who knows? Maybe on the defense, the young secondary will get it together. Shaquille Griffin, Henderson, Herndon up front. Maybe they'll get Josh Allen, an extra pass rusher. Miles Jack can lead that front seven. This was just a building year, a growing year, a chemistry year. And it does, like I said, throw a wild card into the backfield in the following year, depending how James Robinson is. But either way, Jaguars, you can only go from here to me. I don't want to say they're at rock bottom. Absolutely. They're not going to be the Texans or the Lions or the Eagles. But they're in a decent situation to where I still think they can have success in the sense of, I like to compare them to the Chargers last year. You could tell they're a good team that's on the come up, but their record just doesn't show it. I think the Jaguars, we could see, still has hope, still have potential, still has the skill to get there. It's just a matter of hurry up and wait. It's a patience thing, and I think in time this team can be, like we all think, generational talent with Trevor Lawrence if he is the next Luck, Elway, Manning, whatever it is. And he wasn't going to do his rookie year. Etienne going down, I do think it'll just help them realize their draft capital pick is kind of the biggest thing they know worried about right now.
Yeah, we can still definitely see Trevor Lawrence give hope for this Jags team for the next 10 years or whatever, how long he's going to be there. So I think this is not going to be a bust of a season. But going back to what I said earlier, I don't know what it's like for Trevor Lawrence as a rookie quarterback. It could be a big advantage to have one of your favorite guys, running back, a good friend of yours, in the backfield. Could have been a huge confidence booster for him. So for all we know, maybe this will have more of an impact than we think. But I think the Jags will be fine overall, especially with James Robinson still in the backfield. But that's all for the video, pretty much. Again, Etienne going to be out for 12 weeks minimum. But back to the question today, Jay. What do you think this Jags record will be?
I had them maybe fighting for 500, and that's the best case scenario with Etienne. And like I said, I don't think it would throw it off completely. My ceiling probably now would be 7-10 would be my ceiling. The floor, unfortunately, I do think it is possible for them to go 2-15 just because that's what they're working with right now due to the amount of question marks and the amount of youth to this team. That would be my floor, kind of 2-15. But right around, I think they'll finish around 4 or 5 wins with some glimpses of bright future.
Yeah, I'm gonna go 8-9 as my ceiling. I think they can win. I'm gonna go floor for 4 wins. I think they're good for. I think they can beat Houston twice and steal a game from Indianapolis and Tennessee, maybe both. So maybe three wins out of the division. But I guess if I'm gonna be realistically, I'm gonna go 5-12 for the Jags. I think that there's not gonna be a lot of bright sides to this season record wise, but I think there's hope for the future. That's all for the video, guys. Thanks for watching. 2-Minute Warning.